Alright, this is Patchwork Outcast here, and welcome to Pig Feces. I'll let you figure out how I came up with that title. Basically, this is just going to be a little review series. In this particular series, I'm going to be focusing on video games. This is because I've got my own little scoring system to rank the video games. There are 8 different elements that I look for in a video game, and I'll be ranking these games using these elements that I look for. It's all my opinion though. I'm not going to compare myself to IGN or something like that. That's dumb. If you disagree with any of these, that's fine. You have your own opinion. This is mine. So anyway, let's get on with the series. Let's go on with the first video game, which happens to be Star Wars Battlefront. I've actually got a playthrough of the beta version on this channel if you want to check that out. It was really exciting at that time. It was a really good game, at least so I thought. There was a bit of hassle getting a hold of this game myself. For some reason the pre-order cancelled and I had to go to a store to pick it up and blah 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 blah. Right, so the first element that I look for in a video game is obviously gameplay. This includes gameplay mechanics or whatever. For those who have no idea what Star Wars Battlefront is, it's basically a first-person shooter. It's mostly multiplayer, but there are a few single-player missions. I've played a couple of first-person shooters in my day. I used to be on the Call of Duty bandwagon at one point. Doom is still one of my favourite shooters of all time. I enjoyed MAG on the PlayStation 3 when that was new. Personally, I find that a lot of first-person shooters are very similar to each other. It's just a nice little change for me to play one in the Star Wars universe because, well, who doesn't like the Star Wars universe? I hate to admit it, but I did miss the online first-person shooting, and this one captures it perfectly. I'll give this one a tick. Next up is the story. I hate to break it to you, but unfortunately, Star Wars, one hell of a story. This particular video game doesn't have a story. The closest thing it has to a story has to be in the single player mode, where before each mission you get a little cutscene and then a little cutscene at the end of it. That hardly counts to a decent story. So unfortunately we have to leave that unticked. Up next is the environment. This is probably the game's strongest suit in my opinion. The environment looks awesome. If you're a Star Wars fan, then you've always appreciated some of the landscapes in the Star Wars universe, particularly in Tatooine or Hoth or Endor, and in this video game it captures them more than perfectly. It actually feels like you're on planet Hoth, or that you're actually on planet Endor. The environment itself just really entices you into this game, and it's one of the reasons why this game is so good, quite frankly. Needless to say that the environment gets a tick. Interactivity next. Basically this is if you can do anything else in this world. Interactivity is basically how you interact with other players, the environment, etc. This one's a tough one actually, because there are some things that are supposed to happen that I haven't seen happen yet. In particular, there's a trophy on the PS4 where you have to be hit in the head with a rock by an Ewok on Endor, and I'm not entirely sure how to get that trophy myself, but it's just one of the little things that you can do in the environment. One thing that's good about it as well, it's I believe it's from the makers of Battlefield. I might be wrong about that, but as it is from the makers of Battlefield, they kind of specialize on environmental damage. That is on display on this game, particularly on Tatooine, where you see the little campsite and you can blast all the tents to smithereens. Also, there's a bit of environmental damage that you can take if you, like, for example, walk on lava. I'll give interactivity a tick on this game, just about there. Not particularly what I'm looking for. Hopefully in the future we can actually get a better example of interactivity, but for now I'll tick this one. Up next is creativity. And I don't mean the creativity in the gameplay, I mean creativity as in making your own players, making your own things. One of my favorite elements in a video game is the ability to create your own things. In this particular game, you can change your character's appearance. You know, if you're playing as a stormtrooper, you can take the helmet off. Not a wide range, but you can pick from certain alien races to play as well. But the only thing that holds that back is the fact that you have to unlock them. And obviously, in order to unlock them, you not only have to play through the game, not only do you have to rank up, but you have to purchase them as well with points that you earn. I get that sometimes that's the point of a video game. They don't just hand everything to you straight away. But I'm someone who likes creativity in video games. I like to be creative straight away. If you're gonna hold me away from it, if I have to earn it, then it's a little negative. You know, so unfortunately I'll have to leave this blank. I can't tick this because I can't get the creative juices flowing in this game, you know? This series was much easier to think about without the fucking camera, I have to admit. So, up next is emotion. Not just emoting to the characters, not just emoting to the story, but I mean emoting for gameplay as well. I think the closest thing that this particular game gets to emotion is obviously frustration if you're having a bad game. Another thing as well is that if you're a first time player and you get to go to Planet Hoth for the first time, when you get to see the AT-ATs for the first time in person, it's like, wow. It's just overwhelming, you know. But just like any other online multiplayer shooter, that feeling quickly wears out. Just to conclude, not that much emotion in this game, so I have to leave that blank as well, unfortunately. Right, so there are two more elements left. The first one is playback, which is basically how I feel about playing this game later on, like probably in a number of years. I'm going to keep playing it for now though. I'm going to be playing it quite often. I don't know if I'll be playing it in like a year's time. There are plenty of other games that I'd rather be playing, in my opinion. I don't know how long the novelty will last though. I may get bored after a while. Like, there are things that I'd like to unlock in it, but I just don't have the patience. I'd rather be playing something else, as I said. So unfortunately I'll have to leave that one blank as well. I can't take that against the test of time. I don't think it's gonna last that long, unfortunately. And finally, it's the final word, so give me a moment, I have to think about this.
Go get it. Go get your ball.
Right, so it's good, you know, for an online multiplayer shooter. It's got its strengths and weaknesses. It looks gorgeous, it looks absolutely magnificent, but there are just too many things that just hold it back. There's so many things that could have been, but unfortunately will never will be. Well, we don't know yet. There's a couple of expansion packs on the way. I don't know if any of them will have any story-driven missions. Probably not. So, according to my scoring system, we ticked the gameplay. We didn't tick story, so that's 1-1. Environment, that's 2-1. Interactivity, 3-1. Creativity, 3-2. Emotion, 3-3. And playback, 3-4. And of course, the final one is down to the final word, so unfortunately, that's 5-3. So unfortunately, I have to give this game 3 out of 8. I still like the game, even despite that score. I still recommend it. It's just not the perfect game for me. Obviously, to be my perfect game, you have to score all 8. But this one didn't. It didn't even get halfway, surprisingly. So yeah, 3 out of 8. That's quite surprising, especially since it's a Star Wars game, and especially because it's an awesome Star Wars game. It's one of the finest Star Wars games I've played. I haven't played that many, but it's definitely one of the best. If you're a Star Wars fan, then it is essential to your collection. I'm not sure how many platforms it's on. I've got mine on the PS4, obviously. Oh god, this series is gonna suck, isn't it? So that was Star Wars Battlefront. I've got plenty of other games to review, old and new. I hope you stay tuned for another episode. I don't know when it'll be up, but until then, hope you have fun whatever else you're doing, and well, peace. Bye. Bleh.